Everything. Joe Humphrey's still going through the motions of announcing the weights of the principals. Here they are called at the center of the ring. Strangler Lewis has the dragon's seal on his jacket. Here's the start of the match. Both boys spent the opening minutes feeling each other out, looking for a tangible hold to see which could be brought to the canvas first. They're still in the same position. Lewis has his famous headlock hold on Schickhardt. Remember, both these boys were former world's champions. Here they are still manipulating. The referee is Gunboat Smith. Goes Schickhardt down from the stranglehold. Moving along. Crowd watching very carefully. Got out of it all right. Once more he's down. Same hold. Wondering what's going to happen next. Here they are manipulating. There goes Schickhardt with a backflip. Once more, toe-to-toe. Schickhardt tosses his man. Here he's trying to pinion Lewis's shoulders to the mat as they're near the ropes. He's got a half Nelson on him now. Referee's got to watch every move, walk around to see if both shoulders are to the canvas. One fall will decide the winner. Lewis kicking up a lot of dust now, but Schickhardt hangs on. Oh boy, here they are up once more. Now it's Schickhardt who is applying the hold that the Strangler made famous. The German boy is working from side to side. Rushes suddenly, twists his man around. Here's a great hold, the Japanese arm lock, applied by Schickhardt. One move of the leg, and backwards goes Lewis again. Note the twitching of the fingers. He's got it pinioned pretty tight, that arm of Lewis's. It's a great hold and a punishing one. Lewis doing his best to turn around, trying to get up. Look at him rubbing that arm that's on the hand that's almost numb, moving around. Schickhardt at this time is still master of the situation. Lewis is trying to raise Dick up a little bit if he possibly can. Dick got his man in the same position. Same Japanese arm lock. The expression on the crowd. Mighty big one, too. Lewis trying to pinion his opponent's shoulders to the mat. That would legally constitute a fall, even in that position, providing both shoulders touch the canvas, but hope. Dick got out of that. Rushing his opponent, forces Lewis to the mat once more. And lo and behold, the Japanese arm lock again. Schickhardt is watching Lewis's antics as he does a lot of talking. Here's Ed trying for a body hold, but the German is too elusive. Here's what we call a full Nelson. Full Nelson hold. Referee is over to one side, letting the boys get set to arise. Suddenly, Schickhardt twists his man over. Now it's Schickhardt who has Lewis down with the latter's punishing strangling hold. Well, they call it the headlock now. Stranglehold is barred. The only difference between a headlock and a stranglehold is that the stranglehold is under the Adam's apple. They arise in that position. Schickhardt still hanging on. Lewis holding on with his own hands around his opponent's body. Referee Gunboat Smith is taking his exercises as Schickhardt forces Lewis to the mat again. Just sitting nicely, reclining, so to speak, and allowing Lewis to do the hard work to get up. Lewis broke the hold, tries to apply the body hold on Schickhardt. Schickhardt starts to squirm around and falls face downward on the canvas, making it rather difficult for the Strangler to get a real body hold on him. Watch the expression on the crowd. Match between two former champions, two of the mightiest exponents in the game. As they get up, they fall into close embrace with Lewis crowning his opponent almost half out of the ropes. The referee obligingly pushing the ropes back. There goes Schickhardt down now. Lewis has an arm and wrist lock combination on the German boy. And the Strangler seems to be making the most of his opportunity until, lo and behold, there is Schickhardt with a combination head and arm scissors, a wrist lock, the same time making the most use of also his free right hand. Lewis squirms, tosses around a little bit. His Chicot still operating on him with a wrist and arm lock combination. Lewis's right leg is up in the air. Now it's down, both of them together. Notice the way Chicot looks like he's trying to measure Lewis's right arm to see how long it is. And the referee still prancing around, out of sight, out of bounds. Now Chicot tries for a half Nelson, misses. They come up again on the ropes. Once more the boys hit the deck. And here is Chicot trying to apply the pressure until he's kicked away. But right back again, he cuffs his man on the back of the neck. Got a body scissors hold and also an arm and wrist lock combination on Lewis. That body scissors is also a very punishing hold when applied properly. You notice how prone Lewis looks, lying flat on the canvas. He's trying to get up. Chicot cuffs him under the chin with his arm. Down goes the American. Still in the same position. Now he's kicking up a lot of dust. Crowd just watching, wondering what's going to happen next. A great match. Plenty of hard holds. Tortuous ones also. Lewis is still in the same position with the arm and wrist lock and body scissors combination until he finally broke it. Now he tries for a body hold on Chicot and a reverse headlock. Let's see what Dick is going to do now. Turned around, squirmed in, but fell right into the Lewis net. The Strangler now has his famous headlock hold on the German boy. Here they are manipulating in close. Gotta watch the boys as they seesaw back and forth near the ropes. Suddenly, Chicot rushed out. Both got headlock holds until Lewis tossed his man deftly. Now Chicot rushes in, grabs for the leg, misses, and Lewis goes halfway out of the ropes. There's a fine position of the Lewis headlock hold, and down goes Chicot as if felled by a poleaxe. Right down. Goes and squirms around. Lewis hanging on to the hold that he made famous, the famous headlock. Let's see what's going to happen now. Another deft turn of the hand, and Chicot hits the deck once more, trying to find a place to rest his own weary arms in order to prevent his man from carrying out his threat. Lewis is still operating that headlock hold. Chicot looking for a time to break it if he possibly can. Referee also manipulating, walking around. Chicot is down once more. And how Lewis applies that hold, boy, is that a punishing one. And we don't mean maybe. That's the way they get cauliflower ears. Don't have to have on a pair of boxing gloves either to get them. They rise, same position. Lewis kind of looking at his man. Chicot suddenly turns around. And here he's going for the spread eagle. One leg down and the other's hands around his other leg. And notice the expression of pain on Lewis's face. Boy, he crawls under the ropes. Self-preservation is the first law of human nature. Here they are in a neutral corner. Chicot applies the crotch hold and body slam, and Lewis hits the deck on his back, gets up. Once more they manipulate close. Here's Chicot trying to get away from the Lewis toe hold, and Lewis is making the most of it by using a sort of a leg hammerlock, pattern after the arm hammerlock hold, applying all the pressure he can on the toe hold of the German boy. Chicot trying to get in a sitting position, finally rolls over, but he gives the Strangler a better opportunity to manipulate on his leg or toes. And boy, they do that even though they wear shoes. Strangler just seems to be taking his time. He's sitting down rather nicely. Chicot, it's up to him now to do something to get out of the way. He's trying to get up. Watch the way he crawls out of that. He did, and he worked right into a headlock hold. Shicot juggling around. Suddenly, Shicot had to strangle it down again. How nice he rests that leg on his opponent's arm and with the other hand uses it for a wrist lock hold. Now he's got a head scissors and the strangler is complaining to the referee about the hold, saying that it's kind of strangling him. Well, that's funny, the strangler being strangled by a head scissors. Part of the game. Shicot hangs on to that hold, same time using an arm lock combination. And also, with his other hand, tries to spread his opponent's legs apart until Lewis broke it. There's another headlock. Down goes Lewis once more. Shicot is certainly passing the play. Now it's Lewis who's got Shicot on the spot, backing his opponent into the ropes. Back flip. And the German boys hit the deck on all fours. Referee is taking quite an active part in the proceedings. Watches every move made as he maneuvers around. Part of the show, all right. There they are, sort of reclining, aren't they? Oh, but they're still working very hard, even though they seem to be hog-tying each other. Lewis still has that headlock hold on Shicot. Kind of reluctant about letting it go. Oh, he takes a lot of thrills now, but here's Shicot rolling his man over. One hand, once more, rubbing his opponent's chin. Now he's pounding away at the toe, with the toe hold. Lewis's left leg is going left to right, trying to get away from the German. Shicot certainly full of pep, operating on his opponent. The referee's over to one side, so here's a good chance for Dick to get in some good work at close range. Until Lewis got a headlock hold, tossed his man backwards. Look at the old boy go to it. There they are outside of the ropes, and in they go. Once more down on the mat, Shicot on top of his opponent. Here he's got one hand under his opponent's leg. He's using it in sort of a derrick-like fashion. And here's what we call the cradle hold. The same hold, you know, the mothers use in rocking the baby, only in this instance there's a lot of pain attached to it. And it's not as comfortable as a young one in a crib being lulled and rocked to sleep by a mother. Rudy Dusek made this hold famous, and Dick Shicot seems to have it down to a finesse. Look at the way Lewis's mouth opens wide in pain, and boy, you should have heard him as he howled and screamed. Now Shicot's operating on the toes. He's got them both feet pressed over each other, and look at the pressure he's applying to the toe as he's got them overlapping each other. Lewis is trying to crawl under the ropes. Referee Gumbo Smith is making up his mind. He won't do it if he has anything to say about it until Lewis pushes Dick halfway out of the hempen. There they are. Referee's giving them the signal to break and let go. Shicot, as usual, giving Gumbo Smith an argument, standing over Lewis, rushing his opponent again, looking at the referee. There goes Lewis down from a cloud on the chin. And little of the Marquis of Queensberry rules being injected into the picture. And here's Shicot doing his best to try to force the strangler not only out of the ropes, but in among press row. Come together. Shicot once more forces his opponent down. Here's the Japanese arm lock. Same hold that was so disastrous to Lewis shortly after the battle got underway. Shicot is resting over just one deft movement of the leg as he gets all set, and Lewis must go around, squirm around a little bit, and back again. They certainly make the most of out of that Japanese arm lock. And the referee seems not to be only doing his daily dozen. There's Lewis rubbing his hand, which is turned white, as pale as a sheet of white paper. And once more he's forced back by Shicot, just a deft movement of the legs, and Lewis must go the other way around, both shoulders hitting the mat. See, for a second he turns around towards Dick. Let's see what's going to happen now. Shicot still hanging on. Oh, he broke it all right. Lewis managed to break it. Now Lewis is going to have a little fun with the German boy's toe. The harder the battle becomes as the longer it rages. A battle between two supermen of the mat game. Never an idle moment. Hard, scientific wrestling. Look at the way they grapple around each other. Shicot swarming all over Lewis. Lewis trying to smother his man by putting his right hand over his opponent's mouth and chin. Here's Lewis kicking away with his feet, left and right, left and right. Some people take the deli dozen at 6 to 7 in the morning, but not the wrestlers. They generally do it towards the late hours of evening. Chickard is still all over his man, giving Lewis very little rest. But the battler has plenty of milling left in him. They are stand-up position, and once more Chickard. Here is a full position of the spread eagle in all its harshness. You notice that Chickard also straightens out his opponent's left leg, kind of bending the knee a little bit, making it tougher. Here is the perfect spread eagle. One leg on the other opponent's leg until he's kicked away by the strangler. There they are in a sitting position. Chickard is certainly reclining nicely on Lewis's side while at the same time applying the toe hold. And he did apply it, even though the strangler managed to turn over and rest with on his arms and elbows, moved around a little bit, tried to force Chickard to let go by putting both hands around his face in a sort of a reversible headlock. Well, they're going to it all right. And the gunner every once in a while puts his hand in there to see that there's no stranglehold, and he bounces right out of it as if his hand was in the jaws of a trap set to catch a bear or something. Here he goes in again. Thought he was stung that time by the two boys, just watching every move. The gunner's a hard worker, all right. You got to give him credit. Strangler now has his headlock hold on Chickard, backing the German boy into the ropes. Here he's twiddling him from side to side a little bit until Chickard starts pulling the strangler into the hempen, lifts him up with a crotch hold and a slam. Now tries to force him out, but the referee steps in between them. Chickard is very, very rough. Down goes the strangler from a headlock hold. Another crotch and body slam. Lewis is down, gets up again. Chickard roughs him up once more, tries another crotch hold, but this time falls into the Lewis trap. The strangler gets his headlock hold on deck, and with a deft twist of the shoulder, forces the German to the canvas. We're getting on now to the high spots. They've been high spots from the start, but the going is becoming rougher and rougher. Despite the heavy doings at the start, Lewis seems to have plenty of fight left in him. Another flip with the headlock, and Chickard hit the deck once more. Referee's watching over them as Chickard tries to squirm from side to side, with Lewis applying all the pressure that he can muster. Chickard tosses around a little bit. Notice the way the strangler hangs on, though, to the headlock. Oh, he's a persistent young man. He finally had to let go. Once more, Chickard rushes his man, drops him with a crotch hold, lifts him up again, another crotch hold. Down goes the strangler. Near a neutral corner. Referee is tapping Chickard to let go. Lewis taking his time about getting up. Here they are, Chickard roughing his man up once more, rushing him. But Lewis caught him off his guard. Rushes in again, gets a headlock hold on Chickard. Look at the way he's mugging him. And as Chickard staggers, he drops him with a headlock once, twice. Gets up again, Chickard a little bit tired. There goes another headlock for the third time. Chickard goes down, leaving the referee down on all hands and knees. And he's patting him. There he is. Lewis the winner. Chickard gets up. There's Humphreys raising Lewis's hand. Time, 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 7 seconds, which will be announced by Joe Humphreys. Here the boys are in their corner. It's all over. Even the gunner's had his night's work to do. And now Joe